So there is a trailer that just dropped for an upcoming game, a game from some amazingly talented devs, which, you know, this is one of the most interesting things about the industry today, is that a lot of people are like, well, the people that made old school like Mass Effect games, they're no longer there. The people that made the Batman Arkham games great, they're no longer at Rocksteady. The people that made Skyrim so good, they're no longer at BGS. And to a certain extent, a lot of that is true. A lot of people have left those studios, but it makes you want to ask the next question, which is, okay, well, where did they go? You know, where did they go after they left, after they did all of that? And I think the answer is pretty simple. It's just that they went to form their own studios. They got promoted into higher positions. They just got booted around. You know, they shifted around the industry and went elsewhere. But that doesn't mean their work has gone just totally forgotten. There's more. There's more. This trailer is for Exodus. It's the gameplay trailer from this studio, Archetype Entertainment. And it kind of came out of nowhere. We knew that they were going to reveal something here and there, but a couple of important things to note is that it is an action RPG. There's dialogue choices, you get your own ship. There's companions who are both human and alien. Shinobi did a little recap here. Skill trees, all of that. You play as June, who the team describes as sort of a mix between Indiana Jones and Paul Atreides. I'm not sure. You can customize your character, male or female. Choices in the game define you. Game structure. There are structured quests as well as in areas you explore around in, similar to KOTOR, Mass Effect, Dragon Age Origins. This is important because guess who a lot of these developers... Guess what are some of the biggest games they've worked on? KOTOR, Mass Effect, Dragon Age Origins. Like a lot of those people that made these games worked here and worked on those games. Isn't that crazy? So they describe how they will have a large cast of companions, bring two along with you on quests just like Mass Effect. Romances are confirmed to be in the game. Some companions will be at each other's throats and you'll have to side with some over others. Some companions can change radically depending on choices you make. For example, through time dilation, leaving companions behind may change them, age them, etc. by the time you come back. This is one of the coolest little elements. Time dilation is a thing, which I am not qualified to talk about, but basically because of how funky gravity is, if you travel near points of extreme mass like the sun or a black hole, probably is the better example, time will pass at a different rate. So as you're traveling through the galaxy, time will pass at a faster rate or at a slower rate for you, but it'll remain constant for other people. So if you leave somebody behind on your base or on planet, you go on this big adventure, you come back, time will have passed at different rates. So those people will have aged more than you did. Oh God. It's the old saying or not saying, it's the old example where they say, like, if you go next to the sun and you orbit around the sun super close to it, or a black hole super close to it, and then you fly back to Earth. For you, that might have only been a year, but everybody you knew on planet Earth will be dead and gone because the time relativity is crazy. It'll break your brain. It passed at a different rate for you too. And that's something typically in video games where they're just like, never mind. They're just like, nah, we don't want to, don't even start with that because it's such like, it'll break your brain. It's I just can't even begin to figure out how we'd implement that into a game, but that is something they're going to be doing here. So if you leave companions behind and then you go and explore, that should factor in, which is really, really cool. Okay. So all of that said, let's look at the gameplay trailer because again, this is a small unknown studio basically, and they are single-handedly releasing a trailer for what looks like a spiritual successor to Mass Effect that looks better than anything we've seen from any of the other big studios recently. So let's see what this looks like.
Preparing to transfer now. This is your last chance to bail, June.
Do it. Weapon is a hell of a way to greet your new partner.
So you're June.
We're burning time. Now that we're all best of friends, let's make each other rich.
I'm not just here to look pretty. I've got away with celestial tech.
Space Bear!
I see a lot of potential in this new partnership.
Let me light the way for you.
Target acquired.
Many thanks again.
Space
for
Frog.
your help.
You should have been honest.
This place is forbidden. The price is death.
That's what it means to be a traveler.
Become the traveler.
Also, weirdly enough, Wizards of the Coast. Can somebody in chat explain to me why Wizards of the Coast is on it? That surprised me. Is this part of like a bigger franchise that I'm not familiar with? The Exodus franchise? Is that a thing? I don't know. Is it coming to Xbox? Yeah, Xbox, PC, PS5, all of that. They're publishing it. Oh, they're just publishing. Okay. Okay. Well, good get for them. I mean, if Wizards of the Coast, they're also behind Baldur's Gate 3, technically speaking. So that's good. You know, I'll give them that. There's a book and they're the publisher. Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, honestly, like, for one, I think it, amazingly enough, it does strike that Mass Effect vibe like very hard, to the point where it like is a little on the nose with the vibes and the art direction and the styles and stuff. I don't know exactly what to expect from it, you know, at the end of the day. I also don't know why this is the new meta for companion designs. Like, having a bad haircut is not style. You know, like, I feel like with a lot of sci-fi games, they're like, what if we just made them look ridiculous? And when people notice that, we just say it's the future. And that's what they do in the future. Maybe that is fair, because I would never have guessed mullets would make a comeback in 2024, but apparently that's the new hotness. I was talking to my barber last time I got a haircut, and he was like, yeah, dude, probably half the haircuts I do are mullets. I was like, what? Yeah, apparently that's the new hotness. If you have a mullet, this is our moment when we will listen and we won't judge. If you want to say in chat that you have a mullet, this is your time, and I won't ban you. Probably. But you can come out and say that if you need to. Proud mullet, dude. I have one. Mods, get on his ass. Got you. Get out of here. So this is just, it's a funny thing in modern game development is whenever there's a sci-fi game, especially like the female characters get screwed over the hardest. I don't know why character designers think bad haircuts are like badass. I don't get it. I don't get it, because this is bad. If I knew anybody with this haircut, I would personally tackle them to the ground and shave it off, because that's going to be better. This is painful, but it doesn't mean the game will be bad. I just don't know why this is the meta when it comes to character design. But anyway, the rest of the game, you know, the performance capture looks really solid. I also am pretty sure that all of these cutscenes are running at 30 frames, even like here. Yeah, these are all 30 frames. Damn, I'm good. Spotted a mile away. This is the other thing I've been predicting, that, yeah, shocker, Luke can tell the difference between 30 and 60 frames. Wow, how impressive. But this has been my other prediction for a long time, is that I think a lot of the big pushes that are going to be coming in the next 2-3 years, I think big publishers and developers are going to try to re-normalize 30 FPS. I think that's what we're going to see. I think that's going to be the big push, because I think the 60 FPS push has really stretched a lot of these engines and a lot of the tech to the limit, which is why a lot of them look graphically compared to last gen games, and why instability and performance has been such a big issue. And then studios rely too much on things like DLSS and FSR and other temporal solutions to upscale and make things look a little bit better to hit stronger frame rates. And just across the board, the games don't run that well, and it's a big problem. So I think there's going to be a big push, especially in the shadow of GTA 6, which I'm expecting to run at 30. I would love it if it runs at 60 on console, but I would be very surprised if it does. I think a lot of big publishers are going to try to renormalize 30 FPS to alleviate some headaches. So seeing that this has its trailer or its cutscenes running at 30 also does not really surprise me. I know this is maybe like a hot take, okay? But some of the greatest games I've ever played, I played at 30, and they were great. They were great. I greatly prefer 60. Dare I say I prefer 120. I'll go one step further. I prefer 240 frames per second. But 30 FPS is playable and workable. I do not love it, but of some of the most important and like transformational gaming experiences I've ever had, they were pretty much all at 30 frames, whether it was the original launch of The Witcher 3 or games like Breath of the Wild or OG Skyrim or New Vegas or LA Noire or Red Dead Redemption 2. All of those games launched at 30 FPS and they were amazing at 30 FPS. I would argue they're even better at 60, but they were still amazing at 30, even still. So I'm not one of these alarmists that's like, oh, it has a 30 FPS mode, no 60, boycott. I'm just not one of those people. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe I'm just a boomer and I'm like, I remember back in my day when we would get 30 frames and we were happy to get it. Maybe that's what it is. But personally, for me, if the game is good, if the polish is there and it looks like it deserves, like it's working with that 30 FPS, then I'm okay. The one time where I will be upset is if it looks like crap and it runs at 30, because then I'm like, well, what are we sacrificing for? You know, if you're going to go 30, I expect polish and I expect fidelity. If we don't get either of those and it's still running at 30, then we have a problem. Then I'll be upset. But if the game looks really good and runs well and it happens to be at 30, okay, I can't complain that much, you know. Launch a PC port and that's where you get 60. That's how it used to be. You know, if you wanted the higher FPS, you just get it on PC. But point is, I won't be throwing that big of a fit if it's a 30 FPS game. That to me is not a full-on deal breaker so long as the game looks good. Other little tidbits here in the trailer. I mean, environments look pretty solid. I do think that in terms of structure, it seems to be set up in a very similar way to Mass Effect. So it's going to have, you know, wide levels, but it's not going to be like the big open environments or anything. The sequences with the fights also look really, really polished. Like pretty dynamic with grapple hooks and verticality and things. That's pretty cool. Again, I'm sorry to be that person, but like just cut it off. What are we doing? It's like you got a head full of glow sticks, man. Yeah, purple crystals are back. They're more fetch than ever. Space frogs, I'm here for it. It looks pretty Gucci. Yeah, look at that. Okay. Hair seems solid enough. The light colored eyes. Ooh. Yeah. My guess is it's going to be a game that runs at 30 because it's going to be really heavy to run. Otherwise, probably limited by CPU stuff. So it's not like it'll be able to crank it on console. But coming from the team it's coming from, I think it looks really promising because again, like this is a team, people are asking, you know, how did we get Dragon Age Veilguard instead of something we were expecting or really hoping for? It's like that because a lot of those people that made those games so good, they've gone and they founded their own studios and they've started making games like this. So I think we're going to start to probably hear from a lot of these studios and they're going to start to put stuff out that hopefully starts popping off, whether that's a Judas or an Exodus or whatever else. I think we're going to hear from a lot of fresh studios in the next few years. And no doubt, like somebody earlier in stream was asking, what do you expect is going to be like the big players in the next few years? Do you think that some of the big publishers are going to lose footing and all that? Honestly, I think there's going to be some new players. I think probably in like 5 years, some of the biggest and most beloved studios are probably going to be ones you don't recognize today. Just like how 2-3 years ago, A lot of people didn't know who Larian was. A lot of people had never heard of Larian. They're like, if you told them, oh, they made Divinity Original Sin, they'd be like, oh yeah, I think I remember that game, but they weren't like top of mind. I think that's going to be true of a lot of different studios. Warhorse, yeah, Warhorse. A lot of studios like that, I think, are going to continue to pop off and do well. Also, make sure to subscribe because I got to play a bunch of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I can't talk about it yet, but I will be able to talk about it soon enough. So make sure to subscribe so I can tell you all about it and you get notified when that happens. He took my thing.